Welcome everyone back to the channel. My name is Devin and today we're going to be talking about the movie The Nun II. In this video I will not be covering every single detail, but I will be covering it with a unique system that I use in all of my videos, and then we're going to be talking about the ending and how this fits into the Conjuring Universe. First off, if you haven't seen the movie, the first few minutes of this video will be my spoiler-free review, and then I will have a little bit of spoiler talk, so I will let you guys know. I honestly loved this movie. I would argue that this was better than the first movie. The first Nun movie had a lot of great scares, but I feel like this one built a lot more suspense. I'll have to rewatch the first Nun movie to see how they pair together when The Nun II comes on DVD, but I thought this movie was phenomenal. And I may be a tiny bit biased. I love all Conjuring movies, anything to do with the Conjuring Universe, and I'm just a huge horror fan, but some horror movies do disappoint me, but this one, the anticipation I had for this movie was very high, and it honestly reached that. This movie is the Nun's movie. It's less of Sister Irene. It is focused way more on the Nun, a lot more scares, and I personally love that. The way I review all my movies is through a unique review system using an acronym with my name Devin, so starting with D, it's Devin's rating of the movie, and I actually give this movie an 8 out of 10. Like I said, this is the Nun's movie, and when the Nun is on screen, this is the best parts of the film. Something I loved about this film is that we see a lot of the Nun, I think even more than the first one, more than any time in the Conjuring universe. The second letter in my name, E, is the emotional connection I felt to the characters. I felt most emotionally connected to Sister Irene as well as Frenchie, the newer characters including the young girl and her mother. They were good, but if they were killed off, I probably wouldn't have minded. I will say though, I wish that the Conjuring universe did get a little darker sometimes because I feel like the top characters have a lot of plot armor in most of the movies. Now for my top 3 characters, at number 3 we have Sister Irene. We did not see as much of Sister Irene as we did in the first movie, but she was a huge part of the plot, and she was just as good as always. Taissa Farmiga is a wonderful actor following in her sister's footsteps, Vera, who is Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring universe as well. At number 2, we have Maurice. Maurice had a much bigger role in this movie. Maurice is possessed by the Nun for the entire movie and has a lot of awesome scenes as well as a bunch of scary scenes, but that's all I'm gonna say. And at number 1, we have the Nun played by Bonnie Aarons. Aarons is just incredible on scene and is so ominous as the Nun, and I could not see anyone else in this character. The next letter in my name, V, is value. Is this movie worth seeing in theaters? My ticket, I have AMC A-List, was $18.99. I paid $25 a month. I don't know if I would pay $19 to see a movie if I didn't have AMC A-List, but this is a movie that has to be seen in theaters. The audio in this movie just continually builds suspense, and the jump scares are 100 times better in the theaters. I personally think that movie theaters are getting way too expensive, so if $19.99 or $18.99 is too much to see the movie, I would say go see it during a matinee, and I think it's around $11 or $12. But this is definitely one that you want to see in theaters. The next letter in my name, I, is the movie predictable and does it take away from the plot? I think this movie is a tiny bit predictable. You kind of know the flow of the Conjuring movies at this point. You have the suspense, then you have when the demon or ghost reveals itself, and then you have the fight. And in that sense, it is predictable, but I don't think it takes away from the plot. You are there to see the Nun. You know the Nun is going to scare the crap out of people, and that there's going to be a big fight. So I think it does the job, and the predictableness does not take away from the plot. And lastly, the N in Devin stands for never seen before. Have I ever seen anything like this done before? And the answer is yes. Of course, this is the sequel. It is the Nun II. We saw the Nun, but I feel like this movie was better with the jump scares, and just the overall ambience was a lot more creepier. In terms of scary level, I would say the first Nun movie was around a 7, and this one was a 7.5 to 8. So they were around the same ballpark, but I just love the scares a lot more, and if you've seen the movie, you'll probably get what I'm talking about, and if you thought the first one was better, I totally respect your opinion. That's it for any non-spoiler talk. If you haven't seen the movie yet, click off. So now we're going to be talking about spoilers as well as the ending of The Nun II. Now there's a scene that I really want to talk about, and it was one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, and that is the scene where the little girl goes upstairs and opens up the door, and the scene from The Nun II, the hallway scene, is there. I just thought this was genius and a great look back at the first time the Nun really scared everyone on screen. If you forget what I'm talking about, the Nun disguises herself as the girl's mom, goes upstairs, and then when the girl opens the door, you see the hallway, and at the end is the Nun, and this was the flashback to the Conjuring 2 scene. If you forgot what I'm talking about, Vera Farmiga's character goes into the hallway, and her daughter is pointing at the nun and says, "Mom, who's that?" And she points down the hallway and sees the nun, and I just loved this reference and flashback. It wasn't really a flashback, but it was literally in the doorway, and that was my favorite scene from the entire movie. I did like how Sister Irene was not hugely in this movie as well, but they incorporated her as well as Storm Reid, who plays a new nun who are introduced into the movie, and I just thought they did a really great job with the incorporation of all the characters. Now let's talk about the ending of the movie The Nun II and if I liked it. Throughout the entire movie, Sister Irene and Sister Deborah are traveling across Europe to try and track down the demon. Sister Irene connects that the demon is inside of Frenchie as he travels around Europe as a handyman. It is an all-girl boarding school where Kate is a teacher and Sophie is one of the students. As Sister Irene travels across Europe, she continually has visions, and I also think that these were some of the best scenes in the movie as well, including the scene with the newspaper and magazine stand. Sophie is terrorized almost throughout the entire movie by the nun. She's put into a chapel by her friends that was an old chapel that one of the other headmaster's sons was killed in during the war. And this headmaster had one of the most brutal deaths in Conjuring history to me. She was lured into the chapel by the nun and then shown her dead son, and he was the one who killed her. Frenchie is also continually possessed by the nun throughout the entire movie, and when Sister Irene and Deborah finally get there, he is being terrorized by her once again. While investigating, Sister Irene and Sister Deborah find out that they need to get St. Lucy's eyes as a relic to help defeat the nun. Just like Sister Irene used the relic in the first movie, she has to use a relic again. They find out that it is possible that the eyes are at the boarding school, the same boarding school that we've seen throughout the entire movie. We also find out a little bit about Sister Irene's backstory and that her mother was taken away after having visions. So this tells us that Sister Irene, Lorraine Warren, as well as Sister Irene's mother all had visions. In the end, there is a final battle with Valak with all the characters involved. There is a demon goat going around, and it even stabbed a girl in the chest, and we never know what happened to her, and now that I think about it, we have no clue if she survived. The headmaster also comes back to life. Frenchie is running around as a demon and the nun at the same time. So we have like 4 demons running around at the same time. Earlier on in the movie, when Sophie was trapped in the chapel, the girls played a game where you could see the devil through the eye of the goat, and this actually was pointing to exactly where the relic was. After fighting off Frenchie, they find the eyes, and Sophie has to run away when Frenchie comes back and the nun attacks them. Sophie has a massive fight with Frenchie where the bell to the tower falls down and the entire building almost collapses. Sister Irene is able to grab the eyes from Sophie and take down Frenchie, we think. She thinks she has killed Frenchie, but then Frenchie then grabs the eyes and the nun takes power over all of them. Sister Irene is lit on fire and she is in the air, hanging, looking like she is going to die, and then she has a vision or a flashback of her mother. It is here where this vision or flashback shows Sister Irene that she is a descendant of St. Lucy. This allows her to take control of the nun and light the nun on fire. Sister Deborah, who doubted her faith throughout most of the movie, believes in the miracle and prays with Sister Irene, and this also helped defeat Valak. In the end, they all make it out alive, and the nun is killed. We think. I doubt that the nun is killed. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Nun 3. I wouldn't mind if there was a Nun 3. If you were wondering, there is a mid-credit scene in the Nun II, and it is actually Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. This is more of a cover-up to a plot hole, in my opinion, even though it was a nice cameo from Ed and Lorraine Warren. The reason for this little mid-credit scene was most likely because we see Frenchie at the end of the Nun, and he ends up also being the guy who was possessed at the beginning of the Conjuring movie. So let me know in the comments, did you like the movie The Nun II? I thought it could have been a little bit better than The Nun. Let me know, did you think it was a better movie, and what would you rate it out of 10? And thanks so much for watching this video. I'm Devin. I will be covering a lot more horror movies. I'm on TikTok. I cover movie facts and movie details every day. We're so close to 1 million followers on there, and look forward to more horror movie explanations and videos such as this one. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.